Hey, this is Jacob Ash. I help investors maximize their rental return on their investments and want to speak to you today about finding investment properties to add to your portfolio, specifically purchasing at trustee sale, the foreclosure auction. So a little bit about my background. So I have a company in Phoenix that help investors purchase properties at auction. I think we had purchased over 15,000 properties at auction in Maricopa, Pinal County, and some of the other counties throughout Arizona. So I have pretty much seen it all and experienced quite a bit down there, obviously. The biggest thing I can tell you as far as making sure that you are going to purchase correctly at the auction is first and foremost, get reliable data. So there are a number of companies out there that will provide solid content and information of the properties going to trustee sale every month. So first off, every market's different. So in Arizona, basically, we have Monday through Friday, every day, Monday through Friday, we actually have a trustee auction down at the courthouse. And actually there's it's either the courthouse or in some cases in Arizona, it's actually at some of the law offices as well. In other areas, in Texas, parts of Georgia, they'll have an auction once a month, or in some areas it might just be once a week. But find out whenever the auctions, the trustee sale auctions, are specifically to the area that you're looking to invest in, and then gather the information. So there'll be companies that offer that information that you can go to and request to be on their list to receive that data. Make sure that they're a reliable company. The biggest surprise that I've seen with investors is that a lot of times they think that just because it's going to trustee sale means that it's you can just go down there, you can bid on the property, and everything will be fine. And that's not the case. Just because it's going to auction doesn't mean that it's actually a clear title. So you want to make sure that you are, either you or the company that you are using is checking title thoroughly to make sure that whatever property you're going to bid on and hopefully purchase is actually a clear and clean title. So with my properties that we bid on behalf of our investors, for instance, we actually double and triple check the work. So every night when we compile this list of properties going to trustee sale, we then send it out to a few different title companies and then have kind of a checks and balances in place to make sure that we are getting accurate data. And the reason why we do that is because I can't tell you how many times I have gotten a report back from a title company that says that 1234 Main Street, it's a first title, good to bid, and then that same property is flagged by another title company saying that it's actually a second or a third or has a HELOC or some sort of lien first position. And then I can check and balance those and send the information from title company B to title company A saying, hey, they said it was a clear or a dirty title. Did you find this information? And sometimes they respond, say, yep, here's the release attached. And then sometimes they say, oh shoot, yep, you're right, this isn't a clean title. So it's always good to have two or at least three instances where you can double and triple check. We have three. We use three different title companies. So first and foremost, make sure that you are checking title. Also check back taxes, because the taxes, at least here in Arizona, those go in first position before they don't get wiped off at trustee sale. So make sure you're checking title, make sure you're checking back taxes, and make sure that you, thirdly and lastly, very important, make sure that you know where the auction is going to be held. You don't want to show up at a law office thinking it's going to be auctioned off there at 10 o'clock when really it's going to be at the courthouse auctioned off at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So make sure that you know where and when the auction is going to actually happen. And just so you know, just because the auction will say auctions off at 12 o'clock on the courthouse step, it doesn't mean the property will sell right there at noon. It could, so you want to be there right at noon when it starts, but there could be a long list of properties that are going to sell before that, and it might end up selling at 12:30 or 1 o'clock. I've had properties that said they're going to go to auction at 10 o'clock and 1 p.m. rolls around and we're still sitting there waiting for the property. So just be prepared for that. Another thing that is key, before I actually got into the trustee sales, you hear all these horror stories about it being a good old boys network down there, that people are going to scare you, run you up, do anything they can to either get you to overpay or screw you up in some regard, which can be true to some degree. I would tell you though that if you know your numbers and you're confident, then nothing else should matter. As long as you know that you're bidding on a first clean title, you check back taxes, you know you're at the right place. Very important, make sure the check that you write out, that you're going to hand over to the trustee or the bidder or the auctioneer, make sure that that is made out to the right trustee office. So just to give you a brief example, in Arizona, it's a $10,000 cashier's check. So when you win the bid, you hand over a $10,000 cashier's check. So a lot of times you can actually have that cashier's check made out to yourself and then endorse it over to the auctioneer, but that's not the case with all properties. So there have been times where we've shown up to bid, we know who the check should be made out to. We know that this specific property, the trustee wouldn't allow us to make it out to ourselves, but they actually require that we make it out to the title company or the trustee. So say Fidelity National Title needs to be written out to, for example. There are many times, or more often than not, you'll actually have these specialty trustees that require that kind of information. So just make sure you know all the facts about the property. If you know who the trustee is for the property being foreclosed on, then call them and just make sure that you know everything. They usually require cashier's checks, so you can't show up there with cash or a personal check. They won't accept that. But then once you show up, just know that you've run the numbers, and then don't get emotionally involved. It can be very intimidating down there, showing everybody kind of running around you and bidding, and you're getting caught up in the emotions. What I advise investors to do is, if they want to bid on a certain property as a rental, write down their max bid, and then just have that written down. And then when it gets past that, don't go past that. Don't bid it up another 20 or 30,000 past your number. If you know that you're kind of a person that maybe needs that a little bit, then just make sure you built that into your number. So say if I'm going to bid something up to 150 max, I know I can bid 155 or 155 500. Then just make sure that you know that number and then stick to it. Don't come up with the reasons right then and there why you might be able to go up before or go up higher. That's some of the biggest takeaways very quickly. I know it's a quick video, but that I've seen that can really help you be able to purchase some great investments that the trustee sells.